Since ChatGPT launched 15 years ago, back in 2022, it's been sort of this looming threat. How do we strengthen and invest in the most durable aspects of your business? Because even if you believe AI is overhyped and Microsoft and Apple are about to fire sale all their data centers, with the tech we already have today that we've already gotten, if everything stopped, we still have years of catching up to do to use what's already available to make us more productive. So let's not get sucked into whether AI will get good. Let's think through the timeline of what it would look like if it did, and then make a plan. Because saying AI can never do this, saying AI will never replace these types of people, it's fine to believe that. But to go back to the asteroid, let's still have a plan in the event that it does. Now today, AI is in the process of gobbling up the tools and processes we've gotten used to doing. And right now, we maybe can't imagine trusting an AI to just do these things autonomously. Let's take email as an example, because I think it's a great thought experiment to imagine what the future could look like for your business. So email. Let's look at Superhuman, a killer app for email, and it'll now use AI to automatically draft replies to your emails for you. You get an email, it proposes these little stubs of responses. I'm reviewing it, I need time, thanks. You click the one that most closely aligns to what you want to say, and it drafted that email for you. And to be clear, it's far from perfect. It's not always gonna say exactly what you want it to say, but you're like never writing an email from scratch again, basically, right? At least not a reply. But what happens what happens if tools like Superhuman get us to the point where we're more like just approving what it drafts? The tools will have to be connected to more other sources of context in our lives. Who is this person? Can it see my availability? What are the status of this client's projects and all that? But say it gets to the point where we're just approving these responses. You could maybe imagine that, right? It suggests the emails and you approve them. You're like, looks good, it just sends them through. But then what's next? Before long, you're like, we've already done this kind of message 100 times now, it's just approve it. Next time, if we get another one like this, can you just auto send it? I don't need to see it anymore. Now, if you've ever worked with a human assistant, it's the same deal, right? Hard to trust in the beginning, but a great assistant, they learn how to just handle things and keep that stuff off your plate. I still remember when Chris, when he first started with us, let's just say we've come a long ways. We really have. Now, you don't trust AI tools to do this now. I know I don't. We haven't built that trust. And to be clear, we have the exact same issues with other humans, but you can imagine how we could get there. In fact, we could even get to a point where eventually you may have no choice but to trust your AI assistant just to keep up, in the same way that many of us are super reliant on an executive assistant. Chris, say hello. So following this through even further, this potential timeline, to be clear, one we have to have a plan for. If AI is capable of generating correct responses for me, at a certain point, I don't need to see where it got the context. Say it checked my project management system. Because it's done it 100 times before, I'm just gonna trust that the due date they referenced is correct. Now, what about the other side of this email conversation? The customers or the colleagues receiving all these AI auto responses. Well, if AI works for me, probably works for them too. Their email assistant will respond to mine, and we end up with AIs simply interacting and sharing information on our behalf. And honestly, long term, I probably don't care if it's an AI or a human on the other side. We've got this speciesist bias where we're just genuinely untrusting of AI, but increasingly you won't be able to tell. You may have seen this demo recently, a couple AIs chatting it up over a dinner reservation.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there, I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too.
Isn't that cute? It's a little bit slow.
Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
All right, that is pretty weird, but if it saves me having to make the call, if it saves the restaurant having to take the call, we're both gonna do it, right? That little beep off, weird as it is, it's saving us time. And if booking the biggest Chuck E. Cheese party room is simply a matter of telling my AI to go and do it, it saves me having to make the phone call, explain, no, this is not a children's party, it's perfectly fine, even normal for a group of buddies, just me and my bros. having a night out, we're into animatronics. Okay, email software. Email software is a $1.4 billion market. And while you may use Superhuman to draft those emails today, the future probably looks like an AI assistant that sees into all your stuff, right? It's like abstracted above the tools that you use today. It's interacting with your accountant, your attorney, your landscaper, or more accurately, their AI assistant. Hard to get our heads around today, and maybe it takes 5 years, maybe 20 years, maybe it never happens. But if it does, why would you ask me a question directly if my AI assistant answers faster? And the exact same is true for phone calls, for shopping, for working with a service business. Virtually every type of business is in the process of being abstracted by AI. AI interacts with those parties. AI uses the software that we use. That's the hot trend right now, right? AI agents that navigate all your apps just like a human would. So what does your business look like when you're serving an AI? What? When AI becomes the user. Let's say you run a software platform. This is maybe the easiest example to get our heads around. ChatGPT Operator, when it gets better, it gets faster. Now you have all these agents using your software platform. In fact, it's already happening. I can kick off multiple operator agents at a time to go out and do my bidding on the web. 2024 may have been the last year when software tools have more human users than agent users. Think about that. What does that mean? If I'm a software platform, am I okay with this? Do we put up bot protection everywhere? Do we become the platform that works best with agents? Do you factor in designing the user experience to be optimized for agents or for humans?
Yeah, can you take 2 tonight at, well, let's say 9 o'clock?
We're totally booked.
Really? That's great.
You can see this already happening for software companies, right? Go update that lead for me in Salesforce. That day is almost certainly coming. The AI that uses my tools for me on my behalf. And the Salesforces of the world, everybody sees the writing on the wall. It's why they're all building their own AI assistants into their platforms. But is the future really talking to 30 different AI assistants a day? One in every single tool that I use, or is the future the one assistant that I talk to that runs off and uses all of those tools? Software companies need to have a plan for how they'll work with these agents. So you can see this happening to software. But I'm not a software company. I'm an attorney, I'm a realtor, I'm a consultant. I used to run an accounting firm. I know, it's a hit at parties. I can tell you, if my client could have had an AI handle all of their interactions with me, the accountant, they would have gladly delegated maybe not 100% of those interactions, but a big percentage of those interactions to their AI assistant. Fetching documents, answering questions. A lot of what we do today, we will happily delegate to an AI assistant, and your business will end up serving these AI assistants. We will, whether we like it or not. That is, for as long as these AI assistants keep you in the loop. Because there could be a day where the assistant is like, hey, you mentioned you wanted me to ask your attorney that question, but I'm pretty sure that I know the answer and can save you a couple $100 if I just answer it for you. Now AI becomes the tool. I know you want me to update that thing in Salesforce, but I could whip up a little database to serve as your CRM if you want. I'll go grab all the data from Salesforce and set it up. Looks like you're paying them $8,000 a month right now. Could save you some money. When AI becomes the tool, we almost become these like expendable intermediaries. Not in every way, and we're gonna talk about that. What's durable? What remains in this scenario? But for most businesses, there could be a day when the AI intercepts that request and is like, I got this. I'll just knock it out for you. Spooky, right? This is where our headspace needs to be right now. This is the asteroid scenario. If it happens, and I'm certainly not saying that it will, how does your business continue to operate? If AI becomes the user or if AI becomes the tool itself? It could happen. We're gonna work through this together. Take my hand, grab a coffee. We've actually got some historical precedent here that can help us. Over a decade ago, Mark Andreessen famously wrote that software was going to eat the world. And let's face it, it did. Some would say it already had in 2011 when Mark was blogging, which was later devoured by tweeting, which was recently devoured by whatever this is.
I am become meme.
Software took over the world, from media to music to just about everything, shopping. Now AI is eating the world. And every day it feels like it is coming back for seconds. It's a hungry boy. But zooming out, technology's been munching on our planet ever since mankind first fed it a big old bowl of fire or a wheel, whatever was first. If you're an 80s baby, you remember Kodak, It wasn't just a camera business. There were 1-hour drive-through photo booths littering mall parking lots all over the world. But in 1990, an innocuous little Dicam digital camera was released. And within 20 years, those family-friendly drive-through photo booths became family-friendly drive-through vape shops. But the camera business didn't die. Competitors like Fujifilm are still crushing it today. But why? Well, Fuji, they focused on R&D. They made edgy skateboarding videos like this.
Your eyes can see thousands of shades of color. So can our cameras.
And pivoted to digital. But for every Fujifilm, there's a blockbuster that was sunk by a Netflix, or companies that survived but substantially shrank, like Encyclopedia Britannica.
But you could really use these books. Know what they are?
Encyclopedia Britannica.
And according to Wikipedia, they're still in business. So let's condense all of this. Let's put this into a framework of what is durable in an age of AI. What should I be focusing on? Number one, create the next version of what you do. Fujifilm's transition to digital exemplifies a couple of strengths that are broadly applicable. If you remember the aughts, when you think of Fuji cameras, you probably didn't picture some horrendous bedazzled flip camera with an hour of battery life. And it's because Fuji's a good example of a company that, for the most part, responded to digital trends without forcing them. Like, they incorporated new tech, but still focused on quality. They remained the best. There's this pressure today to just jam-pack AI into everything.
With Tom Brady as Brew.
But you've seen a lot of examples that aren't grounded in, like, what's the foundational problem that we solve?
How much protein?
A half a cup of almonds has 15 grams of protein.
Because if you have an advantage right now as the incumbent, it's your intimate understanding of what those problems are, which puts you in the driver's seat to leverage new tech to solve those problems in new ways. We can be our own worst enemy here. I'm not an AI expert, but if you're not applying AI to your domain, who will? A bunch of software engineers? Don't forget how close you are to the problem and what an advantage that is. Believe it or not, you are best suited to navigate this transition period while keeping focused on the real problems. Okay, number two, optimize for agility. You probably noticed in my content, we use a lot of AI generated images and video. We used to subscribe to stock libraries before we found the stuff that we can generate ourselves is more compelling. Not to make AI stuff for AI's sake, but because we can make it in a way that better proves the point or adds a laugh. And it means on my team, I then need a different type of expertise, because who's suited for generating visuals like that? Graphic designers? Not really. A writer? The person who can make the joke? Not really. It's meant we have to change our job description of what it looks like to be a writer or an editor on my team in a way that's frankly really hard to fill. But we've got to make that change. It's become a core part of what we do. But what if I were Netflix or Max or Disney Plus? Right now, AI generated images, in the grand scheme of things for professional productions, they still look pretty janky. So when AI imagery is used by these massive media companies, even just in press images, like these stills from last year promoting the movie Civil War, people hate it and it devalues the brand. People know giant media companies have the resources to do it bigger and better, and that's what they expect. So don't ride the trend for the sake of riding the trend. Use new tech, AI or not, to find the next version of your business. In fact, it is often worth doing this sort of reset and considering, what if everything we've done to get us to this point was what was required to let us do what's next? Scary. I know, like you've got all this stuff you've built, the comfort of the known, but you can't be afraid to try something new. Some changes will be incremental. Google says 25% of their code is now written by AI. It is AI assisted. Other changes will be bigger swings, bigger pivots. But if your org is too slow or too distracted by the trend of the minute, you may not be tracking in the right direction or even going anywhere at all. Adapting isn't about like pivoting away from your current business model so wildly that you dislocate a hip and fired 90% of your workforce. It's about finding the next thing that works. And you're almost certainly gonna need those humans along the way, because in the future, when everyone's using the same software tools and AI and assistants and all that stuff, what's the differentiator gonna be? The humans. Exact same way it is now. You got a MacBook? So do I, but we probably use it in different ways, right? Okay, third thought on what will be the most durable aspect of any business: double down on all things experiential. Do you remember Sammy's saws and lug nuts? You don't, because Home Depot put them out of business years ago. It's a shame. Sammy was one of a kind. But Home Depot prioritized hiring bored dads looking for a second career who can tell you with the confidence only a man working retail at the age of 58 can muster, that's the wrong light bulb. Yes, you could get the same part online. Yes, the store's dripping with weird daddy energy, but I go there because there are still people wandering around who can answer my dumb questions. Every business has a version of this that you actually may not have even turned into a business yet. Are you a consultant for, say, a very specific type of business or entrepreneur? Then you have a unique network of very similar people who you could probably bring together to help them exchange value with each other. I'm a big value of networks, connectors, people who can be hubs. That stuff, being able to bring people together, that will always matter. In many ways, I'm an example of this right now. This mythical human touch. I'm a guy actually talking on camera.
When I could be an 11 Labs version of Jason's voice, lip-synced to this still frame of Sydney Sweeney.
And don't tell me that that's an improvement. You would get sick of it, okay? You know what, that's just weird. Don't bring that into work. The more AI slop that's out there, the greater the premium that will be placed on the opposite, the human touch, the human energy. The tricky part, admittedly, is knowing where the human touch is necessary and where it isn't. That's what we're all still learning. But to give you a super practical example, actually look at these Google results for the 10 best TVs of 2025. It's a mess of sponsored links and articles that are probably written by AI, but this guy, bless his heart, he made a YouTube video about it. Now he may be recommending the exact same TVs, but when he says these are his personal favorites, that still matters to people because AI don't actually experience things. Sometimes you need to trust that the guy you're buying an expensive TV from cares about the image fidelity of your Sailor Moon Blu-ray set just as much as you do, right? Now the trap here is it can be easy to throw the human touch blanket over everything the humans do in your business today. We can trick ourselves into thinking because humans do it now, we think that people always want humans to do it. But it's probably not realistic that you'll be necessary or humans will be necessary for everything that we do today. The point is, we gotta figure out where that line is and double down on the most durable elements that will require your human touch, because that's what your business becomes. In this timeline, that's what's left. So we need to think about whether we're investing in that today. So, create what's next, optimize for agility, double down on all things experiential. 2 more concepts I think will persist in an AI-driven timeline. Number 4, accountability. Maybe this one gets eroded over time, but right now, if the IRS knocks on your door, you can't say, well, the AI prepared the tax return. When Chris's wife serves in the divorce papers, at least for the foreseeable future, he'll still need an advocate that can apply the law on his behalf. Chris, you gotta stop bringing this stuff into work, man. Somebody for now needs to be the arbiter, the person who can represent you to say this approach, this stance, this decision, it's correct. For you, this may tie back to number 1. Creating what's next, because the next version of your business, it's probably super reliant on AI tech. It probably mitigates a lot of trivial things that maybe we didn't even realize were trivial and not adding value to the business. They were just things that humans do because we've always had to do them. I think if we can push to be the ones who are reinventing our own work, in many ways, being the first ones to put ourselves out of a job, makes it easier to spot the things like accountability that will remain. Last, the 5th thing that I think remains no matter what is taste. And you may be thinking, artistic people, the cool kids. Taste goes way further than that. Even if we get to a point where AI is so powerful it can outright outthink, outdo humans at anything, taste remains subjective. Right now, there's only a few huge AI models that all tech companies are reliant on. And interestingly, there's actually research pointing to how all these models are converging, becoming more similar. And while you can certainly prompt a model to behave in a certain way, if my AI does all my shopping for me, unless I tell it otherwise, the default will be the most basic living room set you can possibly imagine, the Stanley mug of living room sets. I can tell it to give me a modern Scandinavian vibe. I can have it give me pictures and I say yes or no to better define my taste. But we have all experienced this. When you see something that takes you by surprise, when you see how that person dresses and you're like, could I pull that off? There will still be room for taste because taste is subjective. Now AI could feed us infinite new Jurassic Park movies until our brains turn into this big pile of mud Laura Dern is jamming her hands into. Just nonstop AI slop, and it may already be happening without us realizing it. But humans will still argue about what's better, Jurassic Park 32 or the Jurassic Park multicam sitcom, The Cretaceous Cul-de-sac. A lot of people thought multicams were dead, but I liked it myself. Consider how you can rigorously apply taste to every aspect of your business to differentiate yourself. If your business is dripping with taste, people won't be able to imagine a world where they swap you out for AI.
Taste. Trust and a human connection. These core tenets can steer any business through the tides of ceaseless technological change.
You know what? Well said. Jason Sweeney, I don't know. Let me know how you are investing in the things that are durable. Drop a comment down below if you made it this far too. Sub to the channel, we're a brand new channel. And I think you're gonna love this video. Look at this. YouTube thinks you're gonna like it. Wowie, wow, wow.